Okay, guys, we are going to do the practice day lesson now. Remember, I said in the last lesson, this was the last of the material for the test. So this practice day is going to kind of summarize the first about 4 or so days of chapter 4, or unit 4, I should say, just to kind of give you a refresher. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Remember, the practice day is just on the practice days, they're the lessons just like the assignment. So there won't be any guided practice. You'll need to make sure you watch this, you pay attention, you take good notes, because for the whole assignment, you'll be on your own. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So for number 1, they ask us to find the value of the variable x. So when we do this, we have to look at what information they give us. Now, I see these 2 marks here. This tells me that these 2 sides are the same. So to get x, I have to set 4x minus 5 equal to 3x plus 7. And then I just got to solve for x. So move the 3x over. We'll get x minus 5 equals 7. Add 5. We get x equals 12. That's all they ask us to find. Number 2, find the value of the variables. So again, finding the value of x. Now, w and x here, remember, those are called remote interior angles, because they're the ones that's the furthest away from this exterior angle. And we learned that if you add these 2 remote interior angles together, they will equal this exterior. So let's do that. We have x minus 12 plus 3x minus 23 equals 3x plus 7. Then I have to go through and combine like terms. So I have x plus 3x, that gets you 4x, negative 12 minus 23, so we get negative 35, equals 3x plus 7. Subtract your 3x. We're going to get not 7x, we're going to get 1x. 1x minus 35 equals 7. Add 35. And we get x equals 42. That's all they ask us to find is x. So we're done. Now for number 3, again, we're finding the value of x. What do we know about these 2 angles right here that they give us? Well, they give us that 2 pairs are congruent, so that means this 3rd pair automatically has to be congruent, which means I just set these equal to each other and solve. So 2x minus 5 equals x plus 16. Subtract my x. 2x minus x is just 1x. Add 5, and I get x equals 21. Now, I may be going through this video a little fast for you. If I am, remember that you can always pause it and then go back and rewatch it. Okay, next group. For the next group, we have to classify each triangle by its angle measures. That means we're talking about angles here. So acute, right, obtuse, or equiangular. So first, let's look at DBC. Triangle DBC. So that's that one. Now, if I look here, they're all different angles, but what are they all? What all types of angles are they? They're all acute. Now we need to look at ACB. So ACB. So this whole big triangle. Now, C is 60. We know that. To get the whole thing on B, we've got to add 50 plus 20. That gets us 70 degrees right there. And then what's left? Well, to figure out what's left, I got to do 60 plus 70 to get 130. Subtract that from 180, and we get 50. This one is 50 degrees. So I've got a 50, a 60, and a 70 again. That means the ACB is, again, acute. Okay, and last but not least, they ask us about ADB. ADB. So this triangle right there. Now, a line, remember, has to be 180, just like a triangle has to be 180. If this right side is 70, that means this left side has to be 110 degrees. So what kind of triangle do I have here then? Obtuse, because I have an obtuse angle. Okay, now we have to classify by the side lengths. So that's going to be scalene, isosceles, or equilateral. The first one they ask us to do is triangle ABC. ABC. That's that whole big triangle. Now on this one, I know this part's going to be 5, but I don't know anything about that one. They don't tell me it's 5, so I can't say it's going to be 10 right here. I don't know what that side is. So we're going to say ABC is scalene. We don't know what it is, or that question mark is. So we'll say scaling, because none of those sides really look to be the same. Okay, now let's look at ADC. So ADC, that's this triangle. Now I have two sides that are the same. So which one means two sides are the same? Isosceles. Or as one of my face-to-face students likes to say, isosceles. But that's not how you say it. It's isosceles. Okay, number 9 and 10. They ask us, what is the measure of the third angle? Then we've got to classify as acute, right, or obtuse. So this is where we have to add these two up and subtract from 180. So let's do that. 24 plus 49. Let's see, that's going to be 13, carry your 1, 73 degrees. And then subtract that from 180. So 107 degrees. Then we've got to look at these. What kind of triangle would this make? An obtuse triangle. Okay, number 10, same process. We've got to add them up. So 84 plus 6 gives you 90. Subtract that from 180. And you're still left with 90. So this one is 90 degrees. So what kind of triangle is it? That's right. Ha 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 ha. Pun intended. That's right. Number 11. They ask us to find the measure of angle CBE. So CB is where I turn my corner. That's this angle E. Okay, now on this one, there's two different approaches you could take. There really is two different approaches. One way is we can use the info they give us. So the top triangle is isosceles. This 28 degrees is a base angle. So this other angle has to also be 28 degrees. Now, they tell us that AD is parallel to BE. Well, if I extend these lines out some, hopefully we can see some kind of relationship going on here. I have this 28. How does it compare to the angle I want? Which is in green down here. These are alternate interior angles. And what do we know about alternate interior angles? They're congruent. So this has to also be 28 degrees. There's our answer. Okay, number 12. They ask us to find the measure of angle N. So this angle right here. Well, this is an isosceles triangle, so that means that these two angles are congruent. So to get x, I first got to set them equal. So let's subtract 4x. And give us 3x plus 5 equals 29. Subtract 5. You get 3x equals 24. Divide by 3, and you get x equals 8. But on this one, did they ask us to find x? No. They asked us to find the measure of angle n. So that means we have to plug it in, plug it in. So 7 times 8 plus 5 is 61 degrees. There's our answer. Okay, so that's the front of the guided practice. Sorry, this is not the guided practice. This is the notes, which is, I guess, really, since it's a practice day, it is like your guided practice. Because we don't exactly have one on the assignment. So, yeah, I guess it is. Anyways, let's look at 13. Now for 13, they ask us to find x, and they tell us that all these angles are equal. Well, if all the angles are equal, that means all the sides are equal. So how could I get x? Set them equal to each other. So I'm going to have 8x minus 18 equals 5x plus 7. I'm going to subtract my 5x. 8 minus 5 is 3x minus 18 equals 7. Add 18. We're going to get 3x equals 25. Divide by 3, and we get x equals 25 over 3. And that's all they ask us to find, is just x. So we're going to say x is 25 over 3. Now on number 14, all the sides are the same, which means all the angles have to be equal. All these angles are equal to each other, which means they're all what? They're all 60. So I actually already have my little equation here. 5y minus 15 has to equal 60. So add your 15. Get 5y equals 75. Divide by 5, and you get y equals 15. That's all they ask us to find is y. So y equals 15. Speaking of 15, let's look at number 15. So they ask us to find what n is equal to. Well, I have an isosceles triangle here. Remember, this means that my base angles are those two, and they have to be equal. So I'll have another n right here, n degrees. Now, what do all the angles in the triangle add to? 180. So I have to add all my angles up. N plus 3n equals 180, which gives me a total of 5n equals 180. And then I just have to divide by 5 to get n equals 36. And that's all they asked me to find. So that's what I'm going to put. Okay, number 16. They ask us to identify the congruent corresponding parts. Well, remember, this is where we're just looking to see what's in the same position. So on 16, they give me RS. What's in the same position in the other triangle? NO. So that's our corresponding part. Now for 17, they ask just for P. Which one's in the same position? T. Angle T, that's my corresponding part. Now for 18, they tell me that the ratio of side lengths of a triangle is 2 to 3 to 5, and its perimeter is 54 meters. What's the length of the shortest side? Let's find all the sides, and then we can easily pick the shortest. So remember, this is where you have to put an X after each one and add them all up. 2x plus 3x plus 5x equals, the perimeter is 54. So we add 2 plus 3 plus 5 to get 10x equals 54. Divide by 10 and you get x equals 5.4. Now they'll ask me though for x. They ask me for the shortest side. So I have to go back in and plug in 5.4 to all the others. And I'm going to just find all the sides because then I can easily pick out the smallest. So 2 times 5.4 is 10.8. 3 times 5.4 is 16.2. And then 5 times 5.4 is, let's see, 27.0. Okay, now they just asked me for the shortest. So there's my smallest right there. So 10.8 meters is my shortest. Number 20, they ask you to solve the proportion. So this is where we have to do the butterfly method. So 12 times x equals 16 times 4. So 12 times x equals 16 times 4. So it'll be 12x equals 64 divided by 12. And that means x equals, let's see here. You should get something like 16 over 3, which is approximately equal to 5.33. I'd prefer you to keep it as a fraction though, because it's not a nice decimal. And the last two, we're asked to find slope. So first they ask us to find the slope of line L. Oh, let's see here. For L, we're going to go, remember slope is rise over run. So how much do I rise on line L? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I run over 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 over 4, which gives me 1. So there's my slope for that one. And then 22 asks us about line M. So line M is this blue line here. So what do I do on it? I go down 2 over 3. So our slope here is negative 2 over 3. Okay, is that the end? It is. So that's the end. Remember, we don't have guided practice because this looks almost exactly like your assignment, just different numbers. So answer the question that follows and get to it. Let me know if you have questions.